guess we're ready.
Yeah, that's four. Here's two. If you're here for item 10B.
Yeah, the 15B.
Okay.
Yes, I have a
15BI.
15BI and an II.
Oh, I see there's
10B is withdrawn, 10 is continued, but this one right here,
Yeah, this is a pile here, I'll just figure it out as we go.
17,
Math was easier to understand.
people got beat up about
I think that's.
That is bad. Very great.
Okay, so we'll just continue that.
Senior director, 2 years.
He'll be okay.
Anything other than,
I told him today, I said, "Well, do your thing tonight, get you out of
I only had 5 years of it. I mean, what do you expect?
The agreement says it closes by December, so.
I started my freshman year.
Everybody ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dreamer, there's some seats on the front row. That's what happens. That's what happens when you get here late.
Come on down and give us an amen.
All right, I will call this meeting to order. This is the Wednesday, November 8th meeting of the Asheboro City Council. And for those of you that might be wondering, we moved this meeting last year to Wednesday. It's normally on Thursday. Couple of things I'd like
Friday's
to,
a holiday, it's the celebration of Veterans Day.
yeah, because of the Veterans Day celebration this weekend. Couple of things I'd like to bring up before we get into the official business. As many of you know, and if you voted, I appreciate you voting. We had a municipal election yesterday, and we had 3 seats running, 3 incumbents and 2 challengers. We 2 of our incumbents, Mr. Burks and Mr. Swears, prevailed. One of our challengers prevailed, and we will be coming up in December saying goodbye to a faithful and well-serving member of council in Jane Redding. She has been a voice of reason, and with her background in the legal profession, she has served us well. And she's never had a whole lot to say, but when she does, everybody up here tends to listen, and she makes good points. So, Jane, we will miss you.
Thank you.
If you will, stand and join me in a moment of silent meditation. This is a month of Thanksgiving. It's we should be thankful all the time, but particularly November brings that to the forefront. And I would ask that you pray in any manner that you feel comfortable, and we will follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving into the agenda, we have, if you have an agenda in your hand, item 3. Under old business, that has, the applicant has requested a continuation of this item till the December 7th meeting. So if you're here for the land use case RZ-2314, the Zoo Parkway, neighborhood, proposal. We will not be discussing that tonight. This would be a good time for you to leave unless you're just burning up with desire to hear what we talk about.
It's a great civic interest.
All right, let me also say that these meetings are live streamed on YouTube. If you address the council, there's a sign-up sheet on the lectern here. We would ask that you print your name. And the purpose of that is so that when we transcribe the audio tape, that we get the spelling of your name correct, because we don't always pick it up properly off of the tape. Okay, so item 3 is requested a continuance. We need action on that. I'll entertain a motion to continue item 3 to the December 7th meeting.
Mayor, I move we continue item 3 to December 7th.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion? All in favor of continuing item 3 to December 7th, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 3 is continued. And if you're here for item 3, it will be discussed. At this point, we expect to discuss it on December the 7th. And I'm gonna jump ahead here and tell you that item 10B, which is the subdivision on Allred Street. What's the name of that, Trevor? Timber Ridge. That request has been withdrawn. For whatever reason, we don't know, and they don't need to tell us, but it has been withdrawn.
Was that the same developer? Yes. I thought so, yeah.
And that just means that they are free to file the request again, and at some point, they probably will. So if you're here for Timber Ridge on Allred Street, item 10B, same applies. Now might be a good time to leave. But we welcome you to stay and see the business that is conducted by the council on your behalf. All right.
Mayor, one more item. Mayor, item 17, acquisition of real property for overflow parking at McCray Ballpark. Staff would request that we move that, continue that to the December meeting as well.
Okay, do I have a motion to continue item 17, acquisition of real property for overflow parking at McCray Ballpark, to another meeting?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Have a motion by Mr. Moffett. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. This item, number 17, is moved to a later date.
Would that include B as well?
Yes. it's
A
the-
and B.
Yes.
We need to restate our motion, council.
We're going to treat it as item 17, being inclusive.
Very good.
Thank you for asking.
We're good?
No, you're good, yes.
Okay. Now, this is the appointed time for public comment. At every meeting, we have a period at the beginning of the meeting where we invite the public to stand here and address the council on any items of concern or public, or items of public business involving city. And if you're here to speak to the council about anything like that, now is your opportunity. So I would invite anybody in the audience that's here to address the council, now is your opportunity. If you are not here to address one of the requests on the agenda, if you are here for a request on the agenda, you'll have your opportunity a little bit later in the meeting. So, no public comment. All right, we'll move on to,
I apologize, is Wayman, Wayman Incorporated?
you need to come to the microphone.
It's on the agenda, ma'am.
It is on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
May I speak?
When we get,
You will when we get to the item.
Got it.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, item 5, I'd like to call, Linda Brown, to the front. She is, president of, is chairman or president now? We changed that a few years ago. President of the Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce, and has been for 9 years. Come right on up here.
I still think of you the return new gal.
Ms. Brown came to Asheboro the first time a few years back as director of the Tourism Development Authority, our second director for that, and did a great job with that. And due to family commitments and whatnot, she left Asheboro, but in her heart, she always felt like Asheboro was where she wanted to be, she and her husband Pat. And so they eventually worked their way back to Asheboro. And it is my privilege tonight to honor Ms. Brown, and I'll just give you the high spots. I've already said she ran the Tourism Bureau here, and in her career, a hospital administrator, a tourism professional outside of the Tourism Development Authority here. She's been an IT executive. I did not know that. She has served here in many capacities over the years, but on many committees and whatnot, but she was vice president of the Aviation Museum out at the airport, your first time here. She's been at the Chamber 9 years, and I want to highlight what she has done for the Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce with a good group of volunteers. But you know, one person does not make all the difference. And Linda has taken the chamber that was in okay shape, and she has, over these years, 9 years, she has improved the cash position of the chamber by 450%. She has improved the investment position of the chamber by 250%. And she has, I can't read my own writing there. I do, what was the 336? The balance sheet improvement was 336%. So, safe to say that this lady has made a huge difference in our Chamber of Commerce here in Asheboro. And not only that, she's made a huge difference. You name it, she's probably served on it at one time or another, or been an advisor to many groups over the years. And she has chosen to leave the Chamber of Commerce and go to work for it. She was actually recruited. I don't think any of us knew this until she had made this decision, but she is going to work for Randolph Community College. And explain, just give me the title.
Strategic Planning and Development Officer.
Strategic Planning and Development. Sounds like you're perfectly suited for that. And it is my honor tonight to present you with a plaque that we started a few years ago called the Asheboro Pride Award, presented to Linda Brown for distinguished service as president of Asheboro Randolph Chamber of Commerce on November 8th, the year 2023. And we are so proud of you and what you've done for our community, and we know you will continue to make a difference in our community.
I just want to say it's thanks to the staff. We've also doubled the
You're welcome. We're proud of you. We love you. Teach me to make better notes. Okay, item 6, I will call on, Ms. Reeves, our finance officer. And, I'm gonna ask John to make this recognition, simply because Ms. Reeves actually works for the city and actually works for John, and, she couldn't do what she does without John's, blessing. So, John, I'm gonna ask that you make this presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm honored to, and I'm honored to report to the public that for the 21st year in a row, I think that's a Hall of Fame record, the Government Finance Officers Association of the United States of America has issued a Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's the highest award they give to our finance officer, Deborah Reeves, for her vital role in the city's accounting and budgeting. We too have a strong local government economy here, strong local government banking and finance here, and we'll get the audit here in a month and a half or 2 months, and then we'll be back in the budget process once again. So when you said you couldn't do it without John's blessing, I think it's the other way around. I think I can't do it without Debbie's blessing. So, yeah, the city manager is lucky to have strong department heads, and obviously I'm lucky, and let's just say that Debbie's she's just one of our MVPs. And thank you for everything you do, and we're certainly proud of you.
Thank you, David. Okay, I'd like to call on our esteemed police chief, Mark Lineberry. Mark has a recognition, and then we'll get into the rest of the agenda items, but go right ahead, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, city manager, members of the council. I'd like to recognize Lori Johnson, if she'll come up. And Lori Johnson, it's definitely an honor for me to present this to her. She did 20 outstanding years in the city of Asheboro, and I can say she done a lot of time in patrol and criminal investigations. And we're surely going to miss your experience, especially in criminal investigations. She investigated some of the most brutal, violent crimes in Asheboro for a lot of years. And the one case in particular is gone to court. It was a hard case, and she inherited it down the road. But and many people will remember this case. But it was the murder of Nova Robinson. And Lori took that case, and she worked and she worked and she worked, and she would brief me, and hopefully I encouraged her, but she got a lot of encouragement, and she kept on, and then he finally brought it to trial and got a conviction. And so, and a lot of people didn't think that could happen, but I had all the faith in you in the world. And I want to present her this plaque for her 20 years of service. And then also her firearm that she carried while she was on duty. If I can use that. But I can't say enough about her. And we're sure, and we're truly gonna miss her. She said she's not bored yet, so it's been 2 months. A month. Oh, it's just 1 month. And then the way I understand it, in retirement system, have you cashed the check? If you don't cash the check, you could always come back. But if you cash the check, it's like a contract. You're done.
I held on to it for a week and then I cashed it.
1 week. No, you're fine.
Great job, Chief. If I may add one thing, anybody that knows law enforcement, first responders in general, know that you can't do what you do in those roles without the blessing of your family. And her husband, Mark, is with her tonight, and the hours you're gone, the hours you have to work, it takes a toll on families and whatnot, and Lori, we're proud of you, and we will miss you, and wish you the best. Got your gun, you can go now. Recreation Service Director, Mr. Sermon, you have a Sioux City Sportsplex
Just a
update.
very, very brief update. Thank you, Mayor, Council. I just wanted to introduce you to the two gentlemen that will be running the Sportsplex for y'all. And then they're going to just talk quickly about our first large rental this coming weekend and other upcoming events. But first, we got Mr. Ryan McCoy. He's been with the city for 7 years. He's started with us as an intern, been promoted a couple times, and now he's your Sportsplex facility manager. And then Bryce Dalkey, he's been here a week. But he's your program coordinator. Now, I have to back up a little bit. He's worked with us for 7 years during the summer while he's been in school. He's been a lifeguard for us, worked all the way up through, and really impressed us in his interview with the things he's done in school and the extracurricular things. So I think we've got a couple of good guys running the facility for you. But Ryan, if you don't mind, come up and just give them a quick update on the tournament. And
Ryan, you ever felt like you were thrown into the deep end of the pool?
Every day. Thank y'all for letting me come up here. So during the late summer and the fall, we have started renting out the facility and using it for various activities. We've rented it out to URE Charter for their varsity soccer games this fall. We've also been hosting practices and games for not only our partnering organizations, but as well as the city's flag football program out there. And then this weekend, we will be hosting part of the Adidas Clash tournament that is put on through NC Fusion Soccer. They initially wanted to use all 8 fields. However, as you guys know, all 8 aren't ready for use yet. So we are going to utilize all 4 fields that are available right now for the weekend. The entire tournament takes place at 10 different venues all across the Piedmont Triad. They have a total of 518 teams participating in all the venues. Here for the Sioux City Sportsplex, we will be hosting 24 of those teams. They will be in the age divisions of boys 19 and under, boys 18 and under, and boys 17 and under. The teams will be not only from here in North Carolina, but we also have some teams coming in from South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia as well. So there's some regional travel coming in here. The tournament will have a total of 44 games played on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, your games are going to start at 8 a.m. and they will be finished at 8 p.m. Sunday, your games are going to start again at 8 a.m. and they will be wrapped up probably about 3:30 or 4 o'clock on Sunday. We're looking forward to hosting these teams and working with NC Fusion. They've already inquired with us about being a host site for their annual events. They do 1 a quarter, so 4 per year. We hope that we can work with them and get that going and on the books for 2024. And then we've also been reached out to by other groups and organizations about using the facility for tournaments, games, events. The next one being as early as possibly Saturday, December 2nd. I've been asked about possibly running a football tournament out there. We're going to try to make that happen. And then multiple other organizations from lacrosse, ultimate frisbee, soccer, they've all inquired about using the facility. So just waiting on it for it all to be finished and so we can start renting it out and getting people on fields. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Can we get a fee schedule at some point?
Yeah, sure.
Good job with the fitness court, ribbon cutting, that was special.
Thank you, yes.
That's good.
when we're gonna pave tomorrow. Well, I've been promised we're gonna pave tomorrow.
Fingers crossed.
You come down tomorrow?
You obviously are not paving tomorrow.
No, it's not, we're not,
You're not doing it.
no.
Let me
It
add
didn't
one
look quite
thing,
ready to me this afternoon, perhaps it is.
let me add one thing to the information about this tournament. I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this Fusion tournament that plays in 10 different venues around the Piedmont, has booked 300 rooms,
Yes.
hotel rooms.
They have also gotten with
in
the,
Piedmont. That is what we built this park for travel, tournament play, where people will come to Asheboro, rent rooms, use our restaurants, buy gas. That, I gotta tell you, the day we had the grand opening of, or the ribbon cutting for the Jellystone Campground 2 years ago or 3 years ago, there was a family there that was camping whose daughter was swimming in a national tournament in Greensboro at the Aquatic Center. And they like to be in a campground, they like to be away, and they were driving her to Greensboro, and they were spending, when she wasn't swimming, they were actually spending time by the pool in the campground. So I expect this is gonna help not only our hotel rooms, but our campgrounds and our B&Bs, Airbnbs and that type of thing. And that is generally the idea behind the effort to build this. And this is truly one of a kind for North Carolina.
And I presume we'd have 48 teams if the fields were all filled.
I would imagine, yeah.
And Mayor, just to add on to what you said along those same lines, at the Downtown Business Merchant Association meeting on Tuesday, Addie Corder, the executive director, shared that this was happening and the hotel rooms that have booked. So she's asked our downtown businesses to keep track of any uptick in business that they see this weekend. So we hope to have some anecdotal information about that. So that's another benefit too.
Good.
Any other questions of Ryan? Ryan, you have anything else to share with us?
No?
Bryce, good to have you working with us now. You guys are gonna be up to your eyeballs in alligators for a while. And the big deal is gonna be keeping the calendar straight. There are people all over the state trying to book tournament time or event time, the flag football, all these other things. Everybody's fighting for field time. And, so you guys are gonna, your biggest job is gonna be keeping that calendar straight.
Yeah, we'll straighten it out and get them out there. Yep.
And everything has to come through you or Bryce, is that correct, Ryan?
Yes, yeah. Any bookings, rentals, anything like that will have to come through us, yep, to get approved.
That kind of demand, we need to be sure of maximizing our price opportunity.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
'Cause we're worth a premium.
We'll find out after this weekend how much of a premium, I think.
What time do you say be through playing Saturday?
The
8
last
to
game
8.
starts at 6, so they'll be done about 7:30, 8 o'clock. Yep.
We got to plan with the lights, that's why,
Yep.
that's why we have turf and lights.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Jonathan, anything else? Thank you. Appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Remember what these guys are leaving up to say about Bryce and Ryan is, nice to see young people coming in public service too. Those will be career employees, lifers.
Okay,
One of them might be sitting up here one of these days, so.
yeah.
Yep.
Council, you have in front of you, consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that you would like to remove for individual discussion or consideration?
Mayor, and I just remind you while you're here that if you look, just remind the council that the Christmas parade's December 1st, and then the next Friday, December 8th, is the downtown Christmas Doesn't seem like Christmas today when it's 81 or 82 degrees, but,
That's okay.
it's time to start planning.
It'll be cold by then.
Yep.
That's okay.
And that's the only staff comment about the consent item, Mayor, that we have to add to it.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Mr. Burks. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, moving on to item 10, and you remember 10B was withdrawn. So, Mr. Nuttall, if you will, introduce item 10A, which I will open a public hearing on case number RZ-23-15.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an application filed as a result of the recent annexation of this property at the request of the landowner that occurred, I believe, 2 meetings ago. We'll be looking at property just east of 1766 WOW Road, about 400 feet northwest of Old Liberty Road. This application comes from the Lucas family, owns this property. It is a request from the owner to place the property in the city's medium-density residential zoning district. Currently, it's what's in rural restricted or residential restricted county zoning through the county's land use ordinance. Just over 1 acre in size. There is no development on the property, and it's a single pin that we are looking at. You can see the property outlined in blue on the screen. Any colored areas on this map identify city zoning jurisdiction, either city limits or extraterritorial zoning jurisdiction. I think in this case, all of that property that we're seeing that is shaded with a color is within the corporate limits of the city. The application in front of you would take the property outlined by the blue boundary and place it into a yellow district, just as those properties that have that R10 designation presently are zoned in the city. This screen identifies any adjacent landowners who would have received notification pertaining to this application. Map gives you an idea of the lay of the land as well as infrastructure maintained by the city that's in the vicinity. We do have both water and sewer infrastructure available to this property. You can see those lines identified on the map. This is an aerial photograph, give you an idea of the development pattern in the area. You can see a stream at the northern fringe of the property. We don't anticipate that would have much, if any, impact on any type of land development that may occur. And this is a view of this subject property from a more of a side angle vantage point. There's a few photos looking at the subject property from WOW Road, and then from the other direction looking at the property. We have a view northwest, away from Old Liberty Road, and then looking southeast back towards Old Liberty Road from near the subject frontage. As I said, this property was annexed. It does require the city to apply zoning to it. The roadway is maintained by NCDOT. It is a higher level, somewhat higher level capacity roadway. We view it as a collector level road, not a local roadway. Prior to the city's relinquishing our zoning jurisdiction, which we did about 10 years ago, where we returned land area back to the county's jurisdiction due to our forecasts in terms of what would ultimately develop within the city's jurisdiction. This property had been within that area of extraterritorial jurisdiction, as had a bunch of property also around it. At that time, the property was zoned R40, a lower density residential district. At this time, where there are utilities available and many of the other surrounding properties are zoned R10, hence the application for that designation here this evening. The R10 district, as defined by the city code, is identified at number 4 there. It is a moderate intensity district. It does allow both single and two-family development. That is served by city and water and sewer, which is what you have in this instance. I note the majority of the residential properties in the vicinity are also zoned R10. And it's in a location that's near the intersection of Old Liberty Road and WOW Road. If you look at your land use plan, that's identified as a small neighborhood activity center. There's presently some non-residential uses that support the residential area of the city surrounding it. This property is in close proximity to what we would characterize as a growing, potentially growing mixed-use type of land development area. We don't have a land development plan recommendation for this map. Our present land development plan only makes recommendations within the current city zoning jurisdiction. So if you look at the plan, you'll not see a forecast for future land use. So we have to look at other goals and policies within the plan. And we believe there are at least 3 that support the request. We think it's consistent with the surrounding city zoning of like properties, which is R10. For that reason, we present this application with a favorable recommendation to the council. Planning Board also reviewed this case at its meeting last month and recommends approval of this item as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any, Mayor.
Questions? Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the council regarding, excuse me, this request? Hearing none, I will ask the council for their thoughts.
Mayor, based on the consistency statement provided by staff, I move we approve the consistency statement as being consistent with our, well, not our land development plan, but the surrounding area, and approve the rezoning request. Consistently.
We have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second? Second. Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Motion to approve item 10A is favorable. I will open a public hearing on item 10C, which is RZ 23-17, requested rezoning of property identified by 2 Randolph County PIN numbers with street addresses of North Fayetteville Street, Liberty Street. Go right ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an application to move these properties from the city's general commercial designation and a portion of R10 residential zoning to entirely office and apartment zoning. The owner is the applicant on this request. That is Christopher Justin Hancock, being represented by H.R. Gallimore. There are 2 parcel numbers. If you total the acreage or land area on this, we're just under 1 acre in size. We do have 2 structures presently vacant. In terms of that property at 645 North Fayetteville Street, previously used for an office as well as a residential use previously. The 2 parcels are shown in blue on this screen. I'm going to zoom in just a little closer. They're A1 and A2 and outlined in blue. That red color on the screen identifies the general commercial corridor along Fayetteville Street. pretty much from the southern limits to the northern limits. A vast majority of the property with frontage on US 220 business is zoned general commercial. You can see it moves to residential to the west, and we have some industrial zoning on the east side of the roadway there. Again, any lettered parcel on this map would have received notification regarding this public hearing this evening. And I will say we've also posted the property and run the advertisement in the paper as required by state statute. This property is just outside of what's identified as the downtown or the center city planning area, which has some additional design standards and development requirements for the downtown area. This is just beyond that area where you see colors on this map. That would be the northern limits of that, what's considered the downtown or center city planning overlay. So when this property, whatever happens to it, will be subject just to the whatever zoning district it is in at that time. You see the topographic and utilities map. Obviously, the property's in the city, and we have the full array of city services presently serving the properties. You can see in the development patterns here, those residential uses to the west. You see that industrial and medical to the east and south there, and then the commercial corridor along Fayetteville Street. A little bit of a different vantage point here with our parcels essentially in the center of this map. It's hard to see, but it does say subject property right above Liberty Street. This is a view of the property as seen from North Fayetteville Street. You see commercial land use to the north there. We're looking at the property now from Liberty Street. See a residential dwelling. We're looking north now on North Fayetteville Street from the frontage of the property and turning around now looking south. This is a view west away from Fayetteville Street on Liberty Street, and you can see the neighborhood that is adjacent to the property. And then the land use on the east side of Fayetteville Street, which is obviously non-residential. Just quickly, as we evaluated this application, US 220 business for Fayetteville Street is a state-maintained major thoroughfare. It does carry a high volume of traffic. The city actually maintains Liberty Street as a local residential street. We've put the existing zoning district descriptions in the report and up on the screen here. Again, we've got some R10 and some B2 zoning on the property. The request is to move this into a mixed-use zoning designation that the city offers, and that's what's known as office and apartment. So approval of this application this evening would permit both single, two-family, very limited, perhaps multifamily development on the property, but also would open it up to office and institutional uses and similar limited commercial uses. I think the key element of this application is it reintroduces a residential component back to these properties where presently it does not have that option. Under the city's codes, for property that's under 45,000 square feet in size, there is a limit on the number of residential units that can be developed on that size property. We also point out in this district, the OA6 district that's requested, that your heavier commercial uses, such as your retail, your restaurants, vehicle repair, are not activities that would be permitted should the property be placed in the district. Those are activities that are permitted under the current designation. So we look at the public records for the property. We've got structures built somewhere between 1925 and 1935. We do have land use recommendations for this property. They essentially recognize what's the existing zoning that's on the ground for the corridor along Fayetteville Street. So it's envisioned to continue to be developed with commercial uses. It is in a primary growth area that we expect to continue to be of interest. believe there's overwhelming support for this application to introduce some residential possibility to this property while taking off the table the option of more intensive commercial uses that might be more disruptive to those existing neighbors to the west. So we recognize that this application doesn't comply with the mapping portion of the land development plan, which is calling for commercial development, but we think it is the location and the development pattern supports an application for office and apartment. Considering those factors and all factors, we are supportive at the staff level of this application. Planning Board reviewed this at its meeting last month and also sends this to you with a favorable recommendation. If there are no questions, I'll turn it over to the public speakers, Mayor.
Questions?
Oh, there's many, but go ahead.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience who would like to address council regarding this request?
Mr. Mayor, City Manager, council members, thanks for the opportunity. I represent Christopher Hancock on this request. If you're familiar with these properties, they were formerly Tyser Insurance Company. I think you remember they utilized these properties for an insurance office, at least one of them, possibly two. We can't quite get the gist of that. These homes were built in the 20s, 30s, got a lot of character, set above grade. Frankly, we see this quite a bit. These homes are too nice to tear down. There's a lot of pressure and need for residential properties. The beauty of OA6, and I commend the city for having this classification, it gives us a flexibility to oscillate between offices and residential. We see it a lot on Cox Street. We've seen that literally all the way down Cox Street. The buyer, Mr. Hancock has a buyer, Ms. Dorothy Barnes. They've done a good job in placing nice homes and bringing tenants in. I think it's in good keeping with the neighborhood. Does not restrict the commercial use as it pertains to offices and so forth. So that's still available to the public, and the ability to oscillate does help a good bit in that regard. One thing I would like to mention: OA6 does allow apartments. I'm glad that Trevor mentioned, due to the size of this property, in the event everyone did decide by right to put apartments there, it'd be limited to no more than 4. I don't see that happening, but ever's a long time. Any questions? Thank you.
Questions?
Should someone have some concerns, I'd be glad to step back up if they do. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Did you sign the book?
I did. I printed my name, so you can.
Thank you.
Did you use a large font?
He picks on me because we went to school together.
Nobody else? Okay, council?
Mayor, based on the consistency statement provided by staff and favorable recommendation by the planning board, I move that we approve the rezoning request of the consistency statement.
I have a motion by Mr. Bell to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Questions, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The request for item 10C is approved. Okay, Mr. Nola, looks like this is gonna be your night.
Feels that way, yes, sir.
You pay tonight. Item 11 is a public hearing which I will open. Community Development Block Grant Funding for Neighborhood Revitalization.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to just briefly introduce this item. I will have assistance from Mr. Bob Lawler with the Asheboro Housing Authority and Andy Scott, who is assisting the Housing Authority in preparing this application that seeks funds to preserve and renovate Caspin Homes as an affordable housing facility for seniors. So I'll just quickly review that. Following the public hearing, we have prepared a resolution for your consideration that would authorize the city to apply for an application to the State Department of Commerce for this grant. Now, that would just authorize us to apply. There would be additional steps down the road should the city receive this award, as we would be working with the Housing Authority on the details of that funding. But this is a consideration for the city in working with the Housing Authority to seek funding that would allow Wayman Homes Incorporated, which is the nonprofit affiliate of Asheboro Housing Authority who owns Caspin Homes, to use that funding to maintain Caspin Homes in a way that it would allow it to continue to serve that useful purpose into the future. This is a particular program under the Community Development Block Grant System, which is envisioned to provide specific neighborhood revitalization assistance, unlike other categories of Community Development Block Grant that may provide economic development or infrastructure or funding for projects. This is specifically for neighborhood revitalization. Many of you, if not all of you, know Caspin is a 50-unit independent living development facility. It's located at 945 South Church Street. As I said, it's owned through an affiliate of the Housing Authority. It does serve families 55 years and older who earn 60% or less of the area's median income, which does qualify it as an affordable housing facility. It was built in 1998, so there has not been, while there's been regular maintenance, there has not been significant upgrades necessary for the facility. And that's what this funding seeks to do. Work could include new siding, insulation, windows, rehabilitation of porches and decks, some other repairs, new carpeting, new flooring, importantly, replacement of heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, as well as water heaters and some new security features and other miscellaneous components that are deemed important to maintain the facility. This is a application that would request a loan through that program, but it would be done so in a manner that provided the terms of that were upheld. It could be deferred and forgiven, or assigned with low interest. The Housing Authority has indicated that they would prefer, not surprisingly, the deferred forgivable loan as a part of this project. So I'm going to turn it over to them. They can speak in more detail about the application. I will say this is a public hearing, so following their comments, it would be appropriate to open it up to anybody else who wishes to offer input. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Trevor. This is the third time we've come before council regarding the Caspin Homes and the Community Development Block Grant Neighborhood Revitalization Grant. The Board of the Housing Authority has given us authority to ask the City Council to make this application for the renovation of Caspin Homes. Trevor went over the proposed activities or improvements of the project, which includes exterior siding, new windows, work on the decks, staining, new carpet, possible new security cameras, electronic entry, and a few other things. Would be asking for the maximum $950,000 for the grant, and we've done needs assessments through our architect and asking contractors what the prices would be. Of course, nowadays, what's the price of something 3 months down the road is anybody's guess. Since we talked with you back in June, and then at the public hearing in, the first public hearing in September, we've asked for letters of support from a number of organizations in the county. The Randolph County Board of Commissioners has submitted a letter of support. So has the Randolph County Senior Adults Association, and the Randolph County Housing Coalition has also supported the project. We talked to the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, who owns our mortgage, for a support letter. Their policy does not allow them to support competitive grants, but they did hope that Caspin Homes would be successful so that additional money could be invested in affordable housing. On October 25th, we had a public information session at Caspin. We sent letters out to all the adjacent property owners and all the residents of Caspin. We had about 15 residents attend the meeting. We talked about a number of things, provided information on the history of Caspin, a description of the property, a description of proposed improvements, and we reviewed the Community Development Block Grant Program, had a Q&A session with the residents. As Trevor mentioned, with the block grant program for this type of project, we don't get a grant, it's some form of loan. And we do request that during or as part of the application, we have the deferred forgivable loan, which would be over a period of years forgiven and go away. But like I said, it's the third time we've been here. Andy Scott, who is with Wolf River Consultants, is working on the application for us. It's due the 15th next week, and he's got information about the application, and I'll go ahead and turn it over to Andy.
I'm not sure that my printing's any better than my cursive, but give it a try. Robert and Trevor have done a really good job of filling you in with the details. I've left with Trevor a copy of the executive summary of the grant that he will provide each of you. So I'm going to really say the only thing I'm going to add is one of the reasons you're asking for, the Housing Authority is asking for a deferred forgivable grant is because in order to perpetuate the affordability, the debt structure on the property cannot take on more debt without having to in turn then raise rents. So we want to try to keep the rents in the same general affordable range. So that's the reason that they're asking for that. The one downside of working with the federal government on the Community Development Block Grant Program is that it is lots and lots and lots of rules and lots of regulations. So as part of this grant application, I want to point out to you that the intention is for your Planning and Community Development Department to contract with Piedmont Triad Regional Council to handle the compliance and some of those issues. That is paid for out of the grant and covered in the grant's administrative cost. So with that, if there are any other in-depth questions that anybody has, I'll be glad to answer them. It's about $1.1 million project, probably take about 18 months. And at this point, $950,000 of which would result in a grant of a loan of $855,000 is being applied for. The remaining $214,000 or so will come from Wayman Homes reserves.
This will not until any Asheboro City funds, right?
None at all. There's no matching funds requirement, and all of the administrative piece, other than some of Trevor's time, will be compensated to the administrative, the $950,000 that you're allowed to put toward administrative costs.
Is there a target date that you would receive an answer, or we would receive an answer?
We should receive an answer by the end of the year. And there will be a lot to do once you receive the answer, because at that point you will be asked to pass an agreement between you and Wayman Homes authorizing the loan and the terms of the loan and the agreement, as well as a contract with, if you can go forward with PTRC, with them for the handling of the compliance issues.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is anyone in the audience who would like to address council regarding this proposal? Now is your turn.
This is my first meeting, so I
Well, hey,
don't know how it works, but I'm
no,
learning.
and I'm not picking on you. We have people
go
that
ahead.
come regularly that don't know how this works.
I have two pictures to hand out to the commissioners. If somebody wants to do that, or could I do it?
What's your name?
My name is Mary Ann Hyatt. I live at 945 South Church Street, apartment 103 in Asheboro. I actually live in the Caspin building. And good evening to everyone, by the way. I am here tonight regarding Wayman Homes, seeking approval for their application. I am all in 100%. I'm a lowly resident, but I wanted to come and give them support as a resident. I've been there 9 years. I love it. I love our small community. And I am here because I don't have the actual application, so I do not know. In our public meeting, we got bullet points, and Bob was describing what would be involved in those bullet points. So these items may be in the application, or they may be just something that was looked over. First, I want to compliment Asheboro Housing Association, because their management for Caspin has to be very big job. It's got to be a big job. And they do their very best in being fair to all the residents, keeping us safe. And so I salute them all. I don't know who all is here from from Asheboro Housing. But also, we have a top-notch maintenance crew team. Both the management and the maintenance team is certainly something to brag about, so I'm here to brag about them. Again, I am pulling for them to get this grant. But the purpose that I'm here tonight is there are two items that I would propose that would be in this application, and it's for the security and the safety of the residents. We have a backyard, and we have 4 glass doors that come off of, you go into a community room very close to the lobby on the first floor, and there's 4 glass doors. I've been there 9 years. On and off, I've been a smoker. And this is the only place that you can smoke on the property, is a gazebo in the backyard. But the gazebo is not just for smokers. It's for anybody that wants to read a book, have some peace, listen to the birds, whatever they would like to do. And they do. Visit with neighbors, visit with family, so on. And they say we're allowed to go out there night or day. I propose that both ends of the backyard need to have a street light. It's very, very dark on one end. If you go out the deck, you go out the glass doors to the right, the end of that building is pitch black. So as you go towards Church Street, to walk around and get to the side door, there's an area that's pitch black. And so the street light will greatly deter any crime or people cutting through the yards that are not supposed to be there. The second item, and by the way, the yellow areas is where I would like, well, I propose that the street lights would be useful, very useful, and deter any possible crime. The second item, please see the orange box for the location of the glass doors, and that's leading out to the back door. I am urgently asking that one of those glass doors, there's 4 of them, are rekeyed, meaning changing the lock that matches the other 3 entrances they call the side doors. And those are the little blue boxes in the picture. So I feel like this is the safest and closest access for the residents, and they should be allowed to come in the closest access, because there are different things that happen with seniors. There's different things that happen in our community. And as a matter of fact, we had a flyer from Asheboro Housing on September, I think it was September 28th. I have it at home, I forgot it, where they, were announcing to the residents that the crime rate is heightened and the homeless population has grown. And if we saw anything, to please, call 911, let them know, let the on-site manager know he's there. And I appreciate that. But the second paragraph kind of made the whole entire notice an oxymoron. Because here we are, this notice talks about high crime and overpopulation and homeless and people and so on. They have changed their policy from being able to go out one of the glass doors. I've lived there 9 years. I have permission from Stephanie and so on for years to go out one of the glass doors, keep it ajar, go to the gazebo, come back, close it, and it would lock. I'm glad that they want that door locked now, and I'm trying, I'm not here just for myself. There's other residents that would not come for fear of being evicted. Senior citizens sometimes have a lot more fear than maybe the younger people, because it's hard to find low-income or subsidized housing. And like I said, I am fortunate to be living there, and I feel a lot of my neighbors feel the same way. In that, the reason why I think, so we can't go back in, we can go out the glass doors day or night, and I'm outside a lot at night. I have insomnia. There's lots of people that come out at night, not lots, but many of us. And with that dark areas, that's the reason I would like to see the, what do you call it, the light, to be installed. But also, by not allowing us to come back in a glass door is causing us to, okay, on your picture, you'll see where the 4 glass doors are, and there's a deck. So they're saying, close the door, it's locked, you can't go back in there. The only way that you can come back in the building is walking the length of one side of the building and go to the side, which is like between you and me, to Church Street, or to the sidewalk to Church Street. Very, very close. And there are many things that are dangerous, potential danger, and I wrote them down, but I'm just going to remember them. You know, as seniors, we may have a medical event. We may have chest pain. We may have dizziness. We may just have a bathroom problem. We may just need to get back in the building fast, and to have to walk that length and go in a side door, I think is asking a lot of us, a lot. Also, we have wild animals. We have foxes and raccoons, and I have been out there. They have approached me. I have quickly ran inside the glass doors. If I had to run down, well, I couldn't run anyway because I've got a bad hip, but to, you know, the length of the building and around to the side door, which is pitch dark at the door, I may not be able to run fast enough if it was a sick animal. I have all kinds of, you know, okay, the crime rate going up. Even after or if these lights are put up, danger is going to come from three ways. It's going to come from the Church Street area, it's going to come from the woods, or it's going to come from the other end of the building. And if you're sitting out there at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, or now 5:30 when it gets dark, and a possible danger is walking your way, whether it be people you don't know coming off the street, whether it be animals, whether it be a lightning storm. That's happened to me many times. I've been sitting out there and a quick lightning storm comes up, and that clap of thunder, I get running back up. You know, if I had to walk the length of the building in a lightning storm, that's just not a very fair thing to make residents do. And
You know why the orange doors are exit only and not entry exit?
Bob Lauder made that decision, and he let us know in the public planning or public meeting that from now on, you cannot go through those doors. You can go through those doors, but you cannot come in. And they just purchased a brand-new, beautiful white picnic table that sits on the deck this far from the glass doors. Even if you're using the picnic table, and we have a kitchen to use as well, right there, then if you're bringing food out in, or plates or whatever, does that mean these people cannot keep the door ajar so they can get back in? Rekeying the lock is very inexpensive, may not even need to be in this application, but we all have keys to what they call the side doors. And
The
what
blue
I'm-
doors.
Yes, the blue squares, that is what they call the side doors. We all have keys. After 9 o'clock, the glass doors in the front close. And so we use our key to get in. But if we're out in the backyard, if they would rekey one of the glass doors to match the other locks, we would not need an extra key. The expense would only be the lock itself. And the residents would be safer to have a closer access back in the building, just in case some of these things.
Well, I would certainly think we could explore that. and
Ms.
put up
Hyde,
two
have
lights.
you discussed any of these suggestions with the
Management.
staff?
Yes, I have, in the meeting.
All right, their application, the project details specifically says new security features including cameras and other improvements.
Oh, yeah.
We have found that Mr. Lawler and his staff are very amenable to work with us, and we will be meeting with them
Okay.
a couple more times. We will address these issues with them.
Okay.
You're certainly not out of reason, the two area lights back there That is really close to the woods. I've
Yeah.
noticed that myself, and, obviously, Bob had a reason to want that door locked. But,
Well,
we will bring that up. We will encourage them to, work through this issue and get some lights put up and make this a little safer. I certainly wouldn't want my mother living out there
And sir, even if they put the lights out there, they do not relock one of those doors, yeah,
So-
there's no potential danger coming from the deck where the glass doors are, but the potential danger is the three other places.
Yeah, this certainly sounds reasonable, and we will certainly address that matter.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Is there anyone else in the room that'd like to address the council on this, proposal? Okay. Mr. Nolan, you have a resolution prepared that we can adopt by reference.
There should be a resolution under agenda item 11 that is available for adoption by reference. Yes, sir.
All right. Council?
Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution by reference authorizing the city to apply for the CDBG Neighborhood Revitalization Grant application.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears, motion by Mr. Bell. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is approved. Okay, 12A, you want to brief us on?
Yes, sir. These are, real quickly, these are just two announcements we wanted to publicly make and I'm sure council is aware of. The first regards our initiation of the 2023 Urgent Repair Program, which most of you know, this is a home owner-occupied repair forgivable loan program for very low-income residents in the city of Asheboro that we have administered twice over the last 10 years. We were successful in getting funding for this program through North Carolina Housing Finance Agency earlier this year. We have started disseminating information pertaining to this program and what the rules are, most of which are consolidated on a flyer that we have, which is available online through the city's homepage at asheboro.nc.gov. Come Monday, the application for this program will be available both at City Hall here and also online. So we wanted to get information out to the folks about what they would need when it comes time to apply. But those applications will be available for owner-occupied housing repair assistance come Monday. We expect to do 11 homes here in the city. The maximum repair cost is approximately a $10,000 limit. A lot of times we're doing roofs and HVAC systems. But we'll look at any type of repairs that are needed to keep residents safe and from having to relocate from the home that they own. So there are qualifying criteria. We'll review those with applicants, many of which have already started calling us, but Monday is the start of that program. I'll move right into item B on this agenda item. We also wanted to announce that on this coming Monday from 3 to 6 p.m. At the Asheboro Recreation Center. Of course, that's located at 148 North Street. We'll be having a informational session to present information informally to the public about the proposed infrastructure project for Trade Street and a short segment of North Street. Again, we'll be in the Recreation Center in the multipurpose room from 3 to 6, along with the design team from Wooten to talk about the purpose of this project, what we expect to have happen should it move forward. We are just past halfway design, so there are still some decision points to be made. There will need to be authorization from council in the future to move this project forward, but we wanted to give folks an opportunity to learn about this project at this point in the process. So the project seeks to replace existing underground lines, water and sewer that the city maintains, which are aged and obsolete, and we're worried at risk of breaking at any point, as well as some aged third-party utility infrastructure that's in that road that we're encouraging to be replaced as a part of this project. Doing that excavation allows us the opportunity to investigate burying all of the overhead utilities that are in Trade Street and on that segment of north out to Sunset. And so that's the purpose of this workshop, is to talk to folks about why we want to do it. We recognize that there will be some disruption along with that project. Anytime we're going to be working down there, the street will have to be closed, and we know that there will be some impacts, but we want to talk with people about how we plan to minimize that and get ideas from folks about the best way to proceed with this project in a manner that is not harmful to them as business owners or property owners. I think most of us agree it'll be a terrific project at the end. We just got to get through a little bit of the pain to make it happen. So Monday, 3 to 6 at the rec center, the project staff will be there to share information. Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. John Ogburn's up now to give us an update on the, right ahead.
Thank you, thank you. So, Mayor, I just want to report that you were here last month, or I watched the video last month. I was not here. I was at the International City Managers Association meeting in Austin, Texas, and went to 3 classes on homelessness and opioid abuse. So, let you know right there that it's a national issue. And I put together kind of some of the lessons learned and what we've adapted in our program, and I just want to catch you up. So homelessness is primarily a result of physical abuse, substance or abuse, or mental illness. People normally don't choose it. To effectively navigate this program, local governments must attempt to connect and/or connect homeless persons to the services offered. The highlights of the meetings were, one, you have to keep homeless people on their feet. Don't let camps be built or occupied. Don't let homeless people occupy abandoned buildings, junkyards, scrap yards, boat yards, etc. No occupation, camping, homesteading on public facilities or properties can be accepted or tolerated. Law enforcement and code enforcement officers must be aware of services available and how to connect homeless people to the service provider. Must work closely with the court system, with the DA's office, to ensure that homeless persons charged with crimes but awaiting trial must be monitored and contact maintained with the court officers or the probation and parole people. Both the letter and spirit of the law must be enforced. Trespassing on private property or public property, code enforcement, zoning violations, outdoor burning, and moving homeless folks out of the jurisdiction is an acceptable response to meet your public safety requirements of your community. Now, we are doing that now, and I want to thank our code enforcement officer, Chuck Garner, and Angela Polito, the navigator with social services who works with Chuck. They are trying to connect these people with services, and we are working hard to do that. In fact, we're working every day to do that. Now, the program recognized a Mesa, Arizona program. Now, in North Carolina, it's important to understand that local government activities, functions are bifurcated. The city does traditionally what's known as hard programs. That is hard services. That's the police, fire department, streets, water, sewer, street lighting, sanitation, parks and recreation, libraries. Counties in North Carolina do what's called soft services or human services. That's going to be mental health, social services, physical health department, the court system, schools, etc. So what these folks did in Mesa was they created an off the streets program, OTS, and that was to help their most vulnerable and unsheltered to coordinate population, to help create a housing plan, get connected to services, and become self-sufficient. So in Mesa, the town bought and rented abandoned hotels, and created them for temporary housing programs that include wraparound services. Those are the services that you've got to connect homeless people to, including transportation, health care, drug counseling, job interviews, computer services. Has anybody filled out a paper job application lately? Anybody seen one of those? Those type things. And you got to have a community safety approach and good neighbor strategies. Now, I'm not saying the city should do this. I'd like to put to the public and remind the council that the cities in Randolph County are a part of the opioid settlement with the state and the federal government. However, the money does not come to us. It comes to the county to administer and manage because we're not in those human services as I mentioned. So if the county or some agency they want to fund wants to operate a housing program, this is the way to do it. If you offer a homeless shelter, traditional housing, temporary housing facilities, you got to have what Mesa's learned and what they've been recognized in our profession for is have a lived experience and peer support personnel. That is so crucial. If somebody has made it out of homelessness back into life, and that is really how you connect with that person. You got to have case management there with client access services to stabilize and begin receiving those services. You got to accept certain pets. Now, if we are home owners and apartment dwellers, and we have a pet, can you imagine how connected those are? It seems simple, but people will not go into a shelter without pets. You need to provide each client, and that's where the management comes to develop a housing plan when they can leave the facility. If there's nowhere to go, they won't even start the program. You gotta have standing rules and requirements in there, how you get in and what the rules are. You cannot stay more than 90 days, and it's gotta be a closed campus. That means it's not open for visitors, the public. Just people who have a reason to be there should be there. You also have to have a good neighbor policy. That includes a dedicated law enforcement officers on site 24/7, 365, just like the hospital does. You cannot have walk-up or drop-in services. Got to be clean and well-maintained campus, just as the lady just mentioned about Casper Homes. Outdoor areas for participant use only, but are buffered from the surrounding community. Frequent room checks to ensure safety and program compliance. Mesa recommends a 10 p.m. curfew. No visitors allowed without permission or monitoring. Transportation to off-campus wraparound services. Phone numbers and emails to provide to the area neighbors and the police so they can connect with city or facility management. So I want to bring for the council tonight that this is a national problem. It is not a local problem. The opioid problem is a national problem. The opioid substance abuse problem is a national problem, and the homelessness, which is driven by hopelessness, is a national problem. So I wanted to bring this just to the council. We've had one opioid task force, and I'm sure we will have another one, and we will report this to the opioid task force for the community. But I just want to say I want to thank the efforts of Chuck, Captain Wagner's in the back, and the Asheboro Police Department, Chief Summers and Chief Cockman for the Asheboro work with the Asheboro Fire Department. When we're performing these programs, our first goal is to make them connect with services. That's the long-term solution. So I just wanted to let that know. All right, and then additional programs, drug counseling, treatment, transportation, social and mental health services, veterans benefits. Yes, there are. Here we are on Veterans Day, and there are homeless veterans that are eligible for services. A lot of them are addicted to opioids because of
Last week, last month.
PTSD and battlefield stress. And housing are policy choices, not at our level, but for our partners, our local partners in county government and healthcare. So again, the mayor and I will give this to the commissioners, and that's what I just wanted to get the council up to date on that, Mayor.
Okay, great news. Just an aside, I believe it was last month that Mr. Garner gave a briefing to the council. He left here and went to a camp that he had was that last month? Month before. Left here, went to a camp he had closed that day, and while he was standing there, a guy comes in with all his stuff, planning to spend the night. And Chuck said, well, I don't know where you're gonna stay, but you can't stay here. So, and the truth of that matter is the guy wanted to get home to Thomasville or somewhere, Lexington, and didn't have a ride that night. He had been released from detox about 10 o'clock, and he showed up there at 10:30. And next morning, he got a ride back to.
I got him in touch with one of the organizations in
Yep.
town and got him
Yep. But that's where he was gonna spend the night.
Why would they release somebody at 10 and if I understood what you
That's
said?
part of that's part of the opioid task force that Chuck and I and the mayor are on to.
Well, we don't know exactly.
You tie the
But-
service providers to
You get 7 days.
Public
And if you
safety, you
show up
tie all
at
that
10 o'clock,
together.
you're kicked out at 10 o'clock. Yeah, that appears, and we were told that we're taking them home, and they're not. So anyway,
But if that's the case, we connected that person with the service provider.
yeah, Chuck sent them over to see a lady that has a transport van, and she took them home the next day. Took them back to Lexington. That was an easy one. We had people here from Wilmington and all over. So, all right, John, thank you. I'm glad y'all talked about that at your international manager, or national managers meeting. That was very timely.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 14.
Item 14, if I can count that high. Getting late. Okay, Chief Summers, come on down.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
As always, it's a pleasure to be before you this evening. And the apparatus that you see before you this evening is a quick response vehicle that will enhance service delivery, maneuverability, flexibility, and operability, especially during storms when it's not practical to respond with a ladder truck or an engine truck. The quick response vehicle can operate effectively and efficiently with 2 firefighters, which will assist with distribution of personnel. In addition, it would increase the longevity of our apparatus fleet by using the quick response vehicle to respond to emergency and non-emergency incidents, which will reduce the wear and tear on our engines and ladder companies. We are experiencing a significant increase in our call volume. For example, in 2021, we responded to 3,400 calls. However, in 2022, we responded to 5,045 calls for service. 2023, we are on pace to match or even exceed the 2022 call for service. The quick response vehicle will also carry an assortment of rescue tools and EMS tools, which will enhance our rescue operation and our rescue capabilities. Currently, we have 2 ladder trucks in the city. a 1998, which is 25 years old, and a 2021 with over 22,000 miles. That's a significant amount of miles on a 2021 apparatus. NFPA recommends placing apparatus 15 years or older in reserve status, and apparatus 25 years or older, we need to retire. So as you can see, our 1998 is due for retirement.
We did better than that with our ladder truck.
Me and you got 25 years in, Chief.
This is so true. As of today, we have spent 33% of our apparatus maintenance budget. That's why it's essential that we put this quick response vehicle in service. It will help reduce that maintenance cost over the long run. In summary, a quick response vehicle will increase the longevity of our fleet, enhance service delivery, and reduce operational costs.
And Chief,
Are there any questions?
on your medical calls, this two-man crew can respond instead of the engine or the ladder truck and the four-man crew.
This is absolutely
Or
correct.
firefighter crew.
For firefighters, yes. And what we're seeing throughout the country is like a lot of municipalities are now employing quick response vehicles. I know in Asheville, the city of Asheville just purchased 3 quick response vehicles.
So, and how many, do you remember how many, opioid abuse, drug abuse, Narcan calls we ran last year?
It was approximately 54, if my memory serves me correct.
Which is, one a week?
Yeah, approximately, yeah, one a week.
Certainly doesn't take an engine company or a ladder company to
Yeah.
respond to that. Where will this be based?
It would be stationed at Station 1. We would run it out of Station 1. Because right now, we're
Really
using,
just an upsize, pickup truck.
I'm sorry, say again?
Is it a pickup truck that's been upsized and outfitted
Yeah.
for this?
Essentially, it's a 55, it's an F-5500.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
essentially.
A big pickup truck.
Yes, big, yeah.
It's a small 2-ton truck. We run a lot of them, and they give great service. They're very heavy duty for their size.
Yes.
Chief, just a quick question.
Yes.
The rating that we just received that we're so proud of, will having this vehicle help us to maintain?
Yes, it
That
will
rating?
help with distribution of personnel.
Okay.
And so it will help with maintaining that ISO 1 rating, which is essential to the community. So, thank you.
Chief, at what point in time would the determination be made when we have this piece of vehicle, equipment, to roll this vehicle as opposed to a larger ladder truck or whatever?
Currently, we're working on SOGs, standard operating guidelines, in terms of when we deploy the quick response vehicle. So we are working on that as we speak.
And that will be determined in-house or by 911 or?
No, that's in-house. That will be determined by the command staff on exactly how we will utilize this vehicle.
Okay. Any other questions?
Chief,
Yeah,
have
I do have, it worries me a little bit about, you're gonna of course, you'll put it at the main station.
That's correct.
But, you know, if you get an emergency call in North Asheboro, I mean, that's a long way to like Call Road and some of our streets, our area in the north end of town. That's a real long run, so, I mean, like if you got a cardiac call or something, I mean, you would just you'd run a regular fire truck from North Asheboro, right? Something like that, I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Because like, I just don't want North Asheboro to get left out on this. To me, really, it would seem good to have one at North Asheboro and here. Of course, I know we're talking about price and all that, but. Well, I mean, I don't mind spending a lot of money for life saving, you know, because that's a serious thing. Yeah, I mean, but it's just I mean, to me, it's like I said, it'd be a long run all the way up to the end of the city limits up there.
And you're absolutely correct. It's approximately 5 miles from Station 1. But the bulk of our call volume is located within the city itself, downtown Asheboro. That's not to diminish the calls on the north end. We do have an apparatus there too, respond to that particular
It's
issue.
a long way down to Old Dumble Mill Road. I think we need 3.
Well, I came at the right time tonight.
We just like to see Debbie wins.
When we get that third station built,
Chief Hoffman,
we'll be
make sure you
shopping for
remember
a
this.
lot more than utility.
You're recording, okay.
But here's the truth, man. Look how much money you gonna save wear and tear on one. So if you buy 3 of these things, about $1 million, we'll be rich.
You gotta do your math.
This is government accounting.
But it is the case that this is in production, and with the auto strike, the parts manufacturers and all, we wanna get one off the floor while we can.
And that's absolutely right, Mr. Ogburn. Interesting that you would bring that up. A neighboring department just ordered 2 engine companies and a ladder company. They expect to take delivery in 4 years.
Wow.
4 years. Can you imagine the miles that we will put on our apparatus in 4 years? So it's essential that we put this quick response vehicle in play. And it's going to enhance our operability, our service to the community.
This Dover, Delaware is still trading in every 10 years.
That's Chief Copland's favorite place. So.
We've done pretty good with trade-ins and used equipment.
Yeah.
Is that bring a trailer for fire departments? Sir? Is that to bring a trailer for fire departments?
Oh, we can drive.
All right, any other questions for the chief?
What's the availability? The delivery, like you say, I know your bigger pieces are 4 years out.
Yes.
What about this type of equipment?
We are extremely fortunate. We should have this vehicle delivered in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
If the council agrees to move forward.
One sitting on the floor somewhere.
It was somewhat. We pulled a few strings.
All right. Well, and once we get this in service, another year or so,
Grab another one.
we might be able to grab another one and solve Bill's concern.
Yeah, well, I
certainly.
had a personal experience with that. I was working the polls last year, and a lady, an elderly lady, was walking to vote, and she fell on a curb. I mean, she busted her head and her nose was pouring blood, and it took a while to get anybody there. I tell you, I mean, we were just kind of trying to keep the blood intact there.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, when you need something like that, it takes a while, and we think it takes longer than it does actually.
Yeah, and we pride ourselves on 5 minutes or less responding to each incident. Yeah, we do.
Okay, thanks, sir. Ms. Reeves, you're next.
Mr. Mayor, I apologize. If you don't mind, we actually end up having a total of 3 votes. Ms. Reeves will present 2 on the finance side. But we do have a first one where we
need a
actually
vote
need
here.
the council to approve the procurement of the apparatus.
All right, do I have a motion to authorize this purchase?
I'll move that we authorize this purchase as presented.
Have a motion by Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now, Ms. Reeves?
There are 2 action items in your packet that go along with this request. The first is item 14B-I, which is an ordinance to amend the general fund to account for the purchase, including installment financing of fire and rescue department equipment. This is just to amend the budget that allows me to put the money in there to buy it. I recommend adoption by reference.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Have a motion by Mr. Moffett. Bill, you want to make a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right. Motion by Mr. Moffett, and second by Mr. McCaskill. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is item 2I, which is a resolution to amend the, actually, it's going to be just a resolution, an updated resolution for the financing, which we passed one in July, saying that we are going to finance our vehicles. It allows us to go to the banks, allows us to go ahead and purchase the vehicles when they're available, and then go to the bank all at one time at the end of the years and tell the bank that we are financing it to get tax-free, tax-exempt financing. Since we already passed that resolution for an amount of $557,846, we need to update that resolution to include this additional expense of $290. And that should be in your packets. That was prepared by the city attorney. I reference adoption by reference.
Questions? May I have a motion to adopt by reference?
Move to adopt by reference.
Mr. Burks, thank you. Second.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Bell. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I had a question that popped up in my mind, and I made a note and looked right over it. When John was talking about the information shared with him at the managers conference, about keep them moving, don't let them move into abandoned houses and whatnot. It appears to me, and I'm asking this question of Trevor or somebody that on staff that might know, have the 4 houses down here on Church officially been emptied now? The 2 on Hammer appear to be empty also.
My understanding is they were having to go through the court system to.
Well, it looks like they're empty.
Some of the structures are vacated. The last update I had were that they were going through the process on the other 2. I believe the ones closest to Church Street are vacant. The other 2, I believe, at least 10 days ago, were still occupied to some extent.
I'll have Chuck ride by there and look at them tomorrow, because
Sure.
the 2 on Hammer appear to be empty. I mean, the stuff's gone, everything's gone, there are no cars there. It looks like they've moved out. If they have, we need to make sure that they don't sit there long enough unoccupied for somebody to start a camp.
We've discussed with the property owner our interest in utilizing those for some training. So I'm pretty confident that once they've got the all clear, they will let us know so that we can discuss.
If we don't move on it quick, the chief might have a practice burn that he's not expecting. With the cold weather coming, somebody will burn one of those houses down.
But yeah, we will follow up tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Mr. Leonard, am I up to Mr. Leonard? Okay, item 15. You have petitions received from property owners for annexation of 2 different areas in the satellite city limits.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for a portion of property containing a total of 29.98 acres and located at the end of Crestview Church Road. You have in your packets a resolution prepared by the city attorney that directs the city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Is that in our zoning area?
No, sir, it's not. We are having discussions with the applicant on this about their desired use. So it is not in our zoning jurisdiction. It will require establishment of city zoning.
Other questions? Do I have a motion for a resolution for the city clerk?
Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the annexation petition by reference.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Burks, thank you. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Second part of that is consideration of resolution setting the date.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In anticipation of your action, the city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency of the petition. And in light of this certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the December 7th, 2023 city council meeting on the question of the requested annexation. Staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Questions? Do I have a motion to adopt by reference?
Mayor, I move we adopt by reference this resolution setting the date for a public hearing on the question of annexing the JMAC properties, real property located on the north side of Crestview Church Road.
Thank you, Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 15B, McMaster Street. Go right ahead, sir.
This is a portion of property this is a petition received by Habitat for Humanity of Randolph County. And it's located on McMaster Street and contains 1.38 acres. It is a total of 4 parcels. And you have in your packets a resolution prepared by the city attorney that directs the city clerk to take the required actions, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Questions? Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we adopt a resolution directing the city clerk to investigate the annexation petition by reference.
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Burks. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item B2,
Thank you, Mr.
consideration of resolution. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In anticipation of your action, the city clerk has prepared a certification of sufficiency of the petition. And in light of this certification, you have in front of you a resolution prepared by the city attorney setting the public hearing date for the December 7th, 2023 city council meeting on the question of the requested annexation, and staff recommends adoption of this resolution by reference.
Questions? Do I have a motion to adopt by reference?
Mayor, I'll move we adopt by reference.
Thank you, Ms. Heath. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Second part. Is there a second part?
That was the second.
That was the second part.
Yes?
Wasn't that the second part? Yeah. Okay.
That was the second part. Well, I'm sorry, it's getting late.
Who's on first?
Not me. All right. You're up again with the airport.
Yes, sir. This is for an amendment to work authorization 1 between the city of Asheboro and W.K. Dixon for an extension of the contract time. This is due to an increase in duties because the contractor, there was an omission by the contractor, Simcon, of the P501 concrete testing mix requirements. This mix requirement was specified in the bid documents. You have in your packets this amendment to the work authorization between the city and W.K. Dixon. The original contract time was supposed to be completed, I believe, August 25th of 2023. Testing was completed and approved last week for the P501 mix. And we're currently awaiting scheduling from the contractor for completion. The increase for the W.K. Dixon contract is totaling $8,723 to complete the project on their portion, and this is essentially administration. Staff recommends approval of this amendment by reference.
Questions?
If it was an omission on the contractor's part, do they not bear some liability on that cost?
So we will be most likely going back with liquidated damages on the contract for this and potentially the lost, because there was or we could potentially go back and for this and the rental, because there was potentially a rental for the unit starting September 1st. So we'll be investigating that as well.
Thank you.
And they are aware of that.
Okay, Ms.
I really
Reeves?
don't understand, but
Oh, you need approval for item 16A, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, please.
All right, do I have a motion to approve that request?
Mayor, I move we approve the work authorization amendment by reference.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
I'd have a moment of discussion just for a second, and that I agree with Mr. Sawyer's question. While the FAA has very specific job mix formulas for concrete and asphalt, they are very well known and very published and uniform throughout the industry, so I really don't understand how we got in this mess.
Not easy to overlook.
But it's, it's extremely commonplace, it's standard material. However, Mr. Leonard has indicated he has a recoupment plan and will take care of this, and we've got to do something to move forward, so I'm just concurring with your inquiry.
We have, since May, communicated with the contractor that they needed, we were aware that this was omitted in May, and that this would take more than 30 to 60 days to do
Who's
the
the
test.
concrete supply?
Well, it was Chandler through concrete, but it had to be a.
I understand what it's got to be, but Chandler didn't have a JMF for it.
They didn't have anybody that was, the testing firm. It wasn't
So they didn't have an FAA approved design lab, and they didn't hire
have the design
Atlantic
lab.
Coast or somebody to do it for them. That's where the ball got dropped, is they needed an outside testing facility that was FAA
Yep.
certified and did not do that.
Yes, sir.
All right, other questions?
So that's not our problem, but let's move on with the project.
All right, so do I have a motion for A?
We did A.
I have a motion waiting for a second.
I'm sorry, I'm lost.
And I'll,
He qualified second.
I qualified a second, but I wanted to also have commentary.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Reluctantly.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item B, Reeves.
As Mr. Leonard presented, there is going to be a cost differential associated with this issue. At the time, as Mr. Walker says, we do need to move forward. So there is a budget amendment in your packet, increasing the appropriation from the grant and outlining the expense as outlined by the contract by the W.K. Dixon for $8,723. I recommend adoption of this budget amendment by reference. It's late for me too.
I may be asleep, but I caught that one.
So moved.
Very good.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion 16B is approved. 17 was continued. Chief Summers again.
On trucks to land baron.
All right, item 18, Chief, come on up. This is regarding acquisition, proposed acquisition of real property for Emergency Operations Center.
How much money you gonna save us this time?
I'm glad you guys are in a good mood.
Well, if you ain't gotta drive all the way from 1 to 3. Oh, that's awesome.
Feds are gonna pay for it.
Big chunk of it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. The property that you see at Zoo Parkway and Crestview Road, it meets all the criteria that was established by Asheboro Fire and Rescue Department to address the following. Growth rate. We anticipate growth taking place in the southern portion of the city, keeping in mind that we're not only building for the here and now, but we're also building for the future. Response times. It will create no overlap, which will allow us to cover more areas with the recommended response time of 5 minutes or less. The new fire station will be approximately 3 miles from Station 1, 10 miles from Station 2, and 3.4 miles from the zoo. Call volume, I'm going to skip over the call volume because we had the luxury of going over the call volume earlier. However, the new fire station will assist with the distribution of calls. We will redraw our response districts to cover that area. The new station will also allow us to move out of a temporary station into a permanent station, which will assist with continuity and service delivery. Finally, the ISO rating. The new fire station will help maintain our ISO rating, which is a significant benefit to the community. Now, it is my understanding that the property owner has agreed to sell 3.25 acres to the city of Asheboro for $113,750, which is approximately $35,000 an acre. The 3.25 acres and the lay of the land will accommodate the proposed fire station interior and exterior space. The city team will work with the architect as it relates to the proposed interior and exterior space of the fire station to ensure the feasibility of the suggestion from the fire department. Also, we intend to construct the proposed improvements as shown on the survey. Those improvements include extension of the public water to the eastern boundary of the proposed parcel, extension of the public sewer for approximately 125 feet into the parcel, installation of a right turn lane that will facilitate safe exiting of personnel from Zoo Parkway into the facility. We also will grant the owner a temporary access easement across our parcel for a limited duration. Once the public right-of-way has been completed, the easement will be eliminated. We do expect to begin constructing the public right-of-way shown on the parcel next year. It is a roadway recommended by the city's comprehensive transportation plan. Are there any questions?
Have you worked out a somewhat stable agreement with the county EMS to station our response vehicles down there during the construction?
Yeah, we continue to explore that opportunity where we can
don't have an
occupy
agreement.
that. We don't have a formal agreement as of yet, but we continue to explore.
Certainly don't want to go rent something if they'll let us stay there.
Yeah, as a last resort, we can relocate our personnel back to Station 1. However, we found for the safety and security of those individuals, as well as response time, it has been beneficial to the community with them at that location.
Well, we're protecting all that county property. I mean, everything around there is county just about. They got a fire truck right there. It seems like they would have a problem with that, you know.
It's been a good marriage. It really has, and we appreciate them allowing us to, because it helped us during COVID. It really did. It was.
Any other questions of the chief?
So if there are no questions for me, Ms. Reeves will present an ordinance to amend the general fund and an offer for purchase related to the acquisition for the council's consideration.
Thank you, sir.
As
Ms.
he
Reeves,
wonderfully said.
I was gonna say, somebody coached him pretty well. Didn't trust the
He's
mayor
pretty
to
sharp.
get
He doesn't need much coaching.
You have an ordinance to amend the general fund in your packets. We are requesting an appropriation of $120,000 from fund balance to purchase this land. I will, outside of this, I will remind you that we do have a couple grants that are going to be going towards this expense. So I feel like $120,000 to be able to utilize some wonderful grants to start getting us in the right direction is a small thing to ask, but I recommend adoption by reference.
Questions?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, Mr. Burks. Questions, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Mr. Sugg,
Yes, sir, there'll end up being 2 votes that we'll need out of this. The first action will be on an offer to purchase and contract, which you have in your folders. It's pretty much standard in the way the closing costs are set out and divided up. It also does reiterate that it's a purchase price itself of $113,750. It does put, I will note in here, it puts a deadline of December the 29th. We certainly anticipate getting this done much sooner than that, but that's just our standard default when we're this close to the end of the year for the contract. I'll be happy to answer any questions, but without any questions, I would recommend adoption by reference. Where, let me rephrase that, specifically directing the mayor to sign on behalf of the city the offer to purchase, and we will extend it to the buyer for his review. And the buyer has seen it already. Seller, excuse me.
discussion? Questions, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move we authorize you on behalf of council and city to execute the offer to purchase and contract the property enumerated in.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
The second vote will pertain to what's also in your folders, the temporary access easement agreement. It sets a firm deadline of December 31, 2025. That's simply because we have a healthy dose of being in the government long enough to always want it to extend for a period of time. It definitely is contemplated that street will be completed much sooner. The access easement utilizes the exact same area as where the public right-of-way is going to be dedicated. As soon as the street's completed, this easement evaporates by its own terms. And we did work out with the good cooperation. The consideration of working together is what's providing the basis for this. There's no extra monetary consideration being exchanged for it. So I'd recommend that the council, we have to answer any questions, that the council move to authorize and direct the mayor, once the city has consummated the transaction to purchase the property, direct the mayor to execute the easement, temporary easement agreement.
Questions?
Now, how far are the water sewer lines gonna go? Just down beside the fire station and it'll stop? Or, and the developer will continue on with, pick it up from there, is that right?
Eastern terminus of the property line.
If I can, we anticipate the water line extending to the eastern boundary of the city's property to be acquired, after which it could be extended into the rest of the property by another party. The sewer, we will plan to bring to the crest of the hill, and then that's about 125 feet into the property. And again, any further extension would be done by another party.
Chance to pick it up, the developer?
Yes, sir.
It'd be under the city's standard extension policies once it's put into the public right-of-way.
Other questions? Have a motion.
Mayor, I move that we authorize you to execute the temporary access easement agreement upon completion of the transfer of the property previously adopted by council.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Swears. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Roney, you have an update on contested case pending in the Office of Administrative Hearings that pertains to the issuance of an NPDES permit to Asheboro.
Good evening. I will try to be as brief as possible. What I'm going to do tonight is kind of tell you where we are. I'll go back and explain why we're there and where we need to go, and kind of, I'm here for questions too, just to address any questions or concerns you may have. At the January 5th, 2023 council meeting, City Council approved Mr. Auburn to execute an engagement letter with Brooks Pierce, a law firm, to engage as representation to represent the City of Asheboro throughout the course of any administrative appeals in subsequent litigation. Now, this litigation is pertaining to our NPDES permit.
Just so, make sure everybody's safe, that's for the wastewater.
That is our
treatment plant.
wastewater treatment facility permit that we operate. And just remember that it's the permit that expired in 2013, and we've been trying to get this permit in place for a long time. So, step forward a little bit from January. On August 21st of 23, NCDEQ issued our permit, effective October 1st. With that, Brooks Pierce acted on our behalf and filed a notice of contested case, and that was on October 20th of 2023. Now, why do we do that? NCDEQ has issued a permit, and they've put in limits for 1,4-dioxane. We've discussed that many times before. Staff does not deny DEQ's authority to issue that permit. What we're arguing is DEQ hasn't gone through the proper procedures to issue the permit. They sent it to Rules Review. Rules Review didn't approve it because they didn't go through the proper steps. Mainly, they didn't, the legislature did determine that they didn't follow the Administrative Procedures Act. So therefore, mainly they didn't issue the fiscal note for implementing the rule. So they haven't implemented a rule to be able to put the limit in our permit. So that's why we are where we are. With that, our attorneys filed the notice of contest. There have been numerous filings of petitions and motions by parties. There have been a few hearings. Now, utilities from all over are weighing in. There are utilities in support of the City of Asheboro. There are utilities in support of DEQ.
All
now,
up and down the Cape Fear.
All up and down the Cape Fear. With that, Brooks Pierce was representing us, and now we know that they had a potential conflict of interest. So one of the firms they represent regularly is a downstream utility that is seeking to intervene on behalf of DEQ, so they no longer can represent us. We were in negotiations with a second law firm, and we were ready to engage with them, and they found a conflict of interest with a potential intervener downstream in favor of DEQ. So they had a conflict of interest. So we have finally found a third law firm. It is Davis Hartman Wright. The attorney is Clark Wright, and we're sure he doesn't have any conflict of interest.
It's an interbasin transfer. You got to go to Mecklenburg County to get a loan.
It seems like every utility in the state has a law firm except us. So hopefully we find one we can land with.
Yes, we got one now.
Yes.
Funny you'd mention that.
With that, so that's why we're here tonight, is to allow Mr. Auburn to execute this letter of engagement with Davis Hartman Wright. But before we do that, I would like to address any questions or concerns you may have.
If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mayor, would you emphasize it's the limited scope that we're actually challenging as far as on
and that's
not
it.
everything about the permit? So.
We're not challenging the entire permit. All we're challenging is DEQ's authority to issue the limit for 1.4 because they didn't go through the proper rulemaking process. That's what we're challenging.
They're a charming bunch.
This may be a better question for Jeff, but if Brooks Pierce's conflicted out, aren't they conflicted out both sides of that issue?
It would appear that there could be some issues about that. Yes.
Okay, but just curious.
I'm just refraining from getting,
Yeah.
I don't want to delve too far into
Yeah.
that one with your permission.
You know, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes perfect sense.
We're very impressed with Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright.
It may be pertinent to raise it at appropriate times.
And to be truthful, the second firm we had, they weren't giving us an attorney with environmental experience. Mr. Wright is a very experienced environmental attorney, so.
And I'll just add, for what it is worth, so I don't want to give any overly negative impression. Part of the debate that has gone back and forth is that initially, and Mr. Roney, you be sure and correct me if you think I'm overstating it, there was initially some talk of different downstream entities intervening full bore. Now, it looks like they're modifying their approach and are going with just taking an amicus stance on it. And the debate then ensued from there, well, if they're just going to file an amicus brief, is that really a conflict? Right. And so, at this point, it's cleaner for the city just to move ahead where we have no conflict whatsoever.
Correct.
Removes that question anyway.
Yeah, that is the belief at the staff level.
To authorize John to negotiate with,
All he has to do is sign the letter of engagement.
okay.
We have received the engagement letter, and it meets all the city's procurement standards for legal
I
service.
need a motion.
This sounds much more benign than what we,
Okay, and I'll be glad to answer any questions you have about that.
than what we were read into or were accused of doing by several people at different times over the last couple of weeks about Asheboro trying to.
I've got the article here. So,
Yes.
yes.
They're doing a fine job of their own by our friends downstream.
We weren't interviewed on any of this, so.
If we can get a press release or something to that effect, maybe
You might work on that.
it would help
Okay.
cities.
So you see that it's, we're in the minutia of the administrative code, we're in of the state's administrative code, we're in the minutia of the NPDES permit, which is a national
EPA.
permit, U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and we're caught up in two large environmental law firms that turns out, little to our knowledge, it represented almost the entire third of eastern North Carolina.
Correct.
And as we talk to you all the time, there's a lot of advantages to being at the headwaters of the Cape Fear. There's a lot of disadvantages too. This is one of the, so we have to figure all this out.
And they didn't think about telling us they were representing all these people. All right, okay.
That's
Do I have a motion?
That's for over a beer one night, Mayor.
Mayor, I move we authorize John to execute the,
Have a motion by Mr. Bell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Heath. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And Mayor, before we minute off that, once again, that we've been working with DEQ for 10 years now to get the permit, so.
We started on this issue of 1,4-dioxane in 2015, and we've met every one of their requests voluntarily. We didn't have to do anything they asked, but we did it because they asked. So, no, we're not the evil.
Bunch of bureaucrats.
Yes.
How long approximately will this action go? I mean, I know
It could go pretty far up the
like
system.
years here we're talking.
We've actually got it.
Only job is to make.
Yeah, it's,
So until then, everything's whole. I mean, we're starting.
our permit is, we're still working off the grandfather permit, so.
Okay.
Okay, great.
And as Mr., want to make sure for the media, thanks, Mr., for reminding me. As Mr. Roney said, it is the city's policy that we work within the rule-making framework. It is not that we start out to lob, stones at the regulators. That is not our role. Our role is to provide a safe product for our citizens, and so the waters can be used downstream. It's just that our contention is the North Carolina DEQ did not follow its own processes to adopt rules.
All right, we got a calendar to look at. But before we get to that, we got 4 people in the room. Normally by this time, the room's empty except for staff. So when there's 4 people sitting here at the end of our agenda that aren't staff or reporters, we kind of wonder if we missed something or did we, you guys are just curious.
Well, let me introduce myself. My name is Tanya Jimenez, and I am the Executive Director for Asheboro Listening Services, a nonprofit organization here in Asheboro. And I wanted to meet the mayor, I wanted to meet everybody, and now you guys could meet us, and we're here just to listen.
And the mayor let you down and didn't show up for your event.
Well, yes.
I'm in hot water with you.
And no response.
Yep,
That's what I wanted
yep.
to be your person.
And,
She's with us, saying us.
oh, okay, great. Well, hey, we're always pleased to have you here. It's just this late in the evening, normally everybody's gone.
And I also got curious about what you were talking about the homeless. I wanted to know if you guys have an estimate of how many homeless do we have in Asheville?
You can come by tomorrow, and Mr. Garner knows.
It's fewer now than it was 2 months ago. I mean, we have, I think I'm comfortable in saying it appears to be fewer.
It is.
They seem to be leaving town, going back to Wilmington, going back to Lexington, and we don't mind trying to help the local people that need help. We just don't want to help everybody in the state of North Carolina that happens to find themselves homeless and likes Asheboro. So, while it sounds hard-hearted and not very Christian, if you'll allow me to say that, it is a matter of survival for our businesses, our citizens, and we're doing the best we can with it, and I think the numbers are going down. They appear to be. So Chuck can give you a little better picture of that tomorrow, and he does this every single day. So, it's good to have y'all here tonight. Okay, the calendar. Anybody have any heartburn with the proposed calendar? I won't until next year when it shows up on Wednesday night.
No.
Nothing on Wednesdays.
No.
And normally, we change dates according to holidays and that type of thing. So, we're approving next year's calendar, right?
If there are no objections, what we'll do is, this will be put in the form of an ordinance to be on your consent agenda in December.
Great,
Don't make
great.
changes from there.
Great. All right, there's a lot going on. This is Veterans Day weekend. Veterans Day Parade, Saturday, which is actually Veterans Day at 4 o'clock, downtown Asheboro. The Field of Honor, which takes place, is 500 flags on display at Sam's, South Asheboro Middle School on Highway 64. The opening ceremony is 12 o'clock noon on Saturday.
I think that's Friday.
That's Friday.
No, it is actually Saturday.
Oh, it is.
The flags will be put out tomorrow afternoon, and the field will be open for people to visit, but the opening ceremony is Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The flags will be put out tomorrow if I show up with them.
This is a true statement. Hopefully you will.
All right, Rhino Leap Productions has done a movie version of Company K, which was a locally produced and written play. And the premiere of that will be at the Sunset Theater at 7:30 on Saturday night. The movie is 55 minutes, so it's not overly long. Farm, Food, and Family Education, which we know as the Ag Center, groundbreaking will be 11 on Monday, November 13th. The billing office for water and sewer is tentatively planned to be closed on November 16th and Friday the 17th, to be relocated to the Asheboro Mall, which will give them better access for the public. City offices will be closed for Thanksgiving holiday Thursday and Friday. Christmas parade on December 1st at 7 o'clock. Christmas Caroling Trolley Tour begins on December 2nd. And many of those, there are eight tours, and many of them are sold out, but that's a really pretty cool little event. You get on a trolley, you ride around town, and actors get on and off the trolley and do parts of the Christmas story, Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
All right, Kelly, you want to talk to us about the parade?
The two other events that are happening?
Yeah.
Yes, so the evening of the parade on Friday, December 1st, there will be a meet and greet at Sunset Theater with Kyle Petty, who is the Grand Marshal for this year's parade. So that will be from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Sunset Theater. There will also be a tree lighting ceremony at 6 o'clock at the City of Asheboro Christmas tree at the railroad tracks. We have the Asheboro High School Park Street Ensemble is going to perform at that, and of course the mayor will officially light the tree and I'm sure make some remarks also. So that's at 6 o'clock on Friday the 1st.
It's Christmas parade night, and then the next weekend is
Christmas downtown on Friday.
Christmas downtown, which is a really great way to get the Christmas spirit. Open free and to the public. Anybody can come. Is that it? We got them all? All right, we'll start with Kelly. You got anything?
I have just a couple things. I just want to thank John for the continued efforts to have the homeless issue on the agenda and just continue bringing that up and informing the public what's going on. There was a pretty cool event at the Sunset Theater tonight. PBS North Carolina and the North Carolina Zoo partnered together along with the city for a screening of American Buffalo, the latest Ken Burns documentary that premiered on PBS mid-month. Looked like there was a pretty good crowd gathering for that, so that's just a really cool thing to have PBS North Carolina here for that. So that's what I've got.
Mr. Sawyers, congratulations on your reelection.
Well, that's my main thing, is thanking the voters for allowing me to keep my seat for another 4 years. I appreciate it very much.
Mr. Bell?
Happy birthday to Holly on 11/25, and happy birthday to Kelly on 11/27.
Thank you.
As long as they keep coming, ladies.
That's right. That's
Happy
right.
birthday. John?
Mayor, tomorrow at 8 a.m., I will host a veterans breakfast for the veterans of the city of Asheboro, full-time employees. The national average for veterans in employment is less than 1%, 10% of our employees, 35 of our 350 full-time employees are veterans. That's a pretty nice event. They appreciate it. It's nice to be remembered. And I'll just say once again that if you don't know the story of Company K, men and boys, 18 years old, from Asheboro, at the region in France called Bellicourt, spelled Bellicourt, but Bellicourt, helped break the Hindenburg Line that ended World War I, including Captain Benjamin Dixon, who the American Legion poster is named for. He was killed in action leading it, and he was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal. People that came home included Hal Worth, who was a lieutenant, later became a judge, and so lots of Randolph County and Asheboro people were involved. It's quite a story to see, and I urge you to see it and learn about it, and don't forget about it. because Veterans Day is, November the 11th. World War I armistice was the 11th day of the 11th month at 11 a.m. of November the 11th. 11 a.m., November the 11th, 1918. 11, 11, 11, 1918.
The Dixon American Legion Post is having a flag retirement event Saturday, so if you have flags that need to be properly disposed of, you can probably just take them by there and drop them off, and they'll dispose of them. The Boy Scouts that have been doing it for years did not get one put together this year, and American Legion's doing it. I can't think of anything else tonight. I apologize for being so confused, lost. So, Walker.
A couple things. To tag along with what Michael Roney's general topics were about water and sewer concerns. I've shared with some of you, but just to give you an update, Tuggle Duggins Council out of Greensboro is handling several other municipalities in of North Carolina in class action suit for monetary distribution on the PFAS water contamination settlement. They're working in conjunction with Barron and Bud, with Brett Land as the lead attorney with that. In the next week or so, Michael, myself, and John will be on the conference call. I copied you, Mr. Mayor, on these emails, to investigate how we might want to participate, and of course, or not, as the case may be. But there have been monetary settlements with 3M and DuPont, and there's three types of damages available to us. The main thing we're looking for is money to put in equipment to remediate this water, because as Bill had asked me earlier, question about did it involve the sewer, the effluent as well. Well, it doesn't initially, but it does, because once it's in your drinking water, when it goes back to the sewer plant, then it becomes a regulated discharge as well. So just to give you an update, we'll know more about that, but hopefully there's some monetary resolve to help with these problems. So I'm having to go through personally a different form for settlement for private water systems. On a brighter note, as many of you may recall, 2 or 3 decades ago, it was in the I think in the late 90s, early 2000s, when the I-73, 74, 75 National Committee was established. And our own Talmadge Baker was the chairman of that. He was known at that time as Mr. Road Rally. And I wore out much shoe leather going with Talmadge to Washington, D.C. and attending these committee meetings. And as North Carolina made such great progress as opposed to some of the other states, and I'll give you a brief update on state. It's recently been put back together, and we had a very meaningful meeting earlier this summer and had some minutes come out. The South Carolina is trying to put a grand emphasis on it, and they've got all of the original states back together. At one time, I was the vice chair of that committee after Talmadge stepped down. I'm just the North Carolina representative member at this point. But just briefly, Ohio has got a section of I-75 that they're working on that ties to 73, 74, and they're 5 years out on the 2 bills that they need to tie into that. And how that's important to us is Myrtle's the closest beach to these states, even all the way to Michigan as far as the Ocean Beach goes. And as far as our zoo destinations, this artery is extremely important to our tourism industry. So what they're doing to facilitate this does directly impact our economy. North Carolina is fixing to, by end of the year, we hope to have opened the 73 bypass around Rockingham. North Carolina, and that's a tremendous connector. That'll basically just leave the Laurel Hill intersection before you get to Laurinburg, in terms of getting rid of all the lights. Now, if you'll go further on down towards 701, you'll notice they're putting overpasses and getting rid of the interchanges, as you'll soon see on 421 at the Toyota plant. West Virginia has nearly completed their section, as well as Virginia is working on a connector there. They've done more on 74 than 73, that going up to Martinsville. That's a tough stretch up there. How that happens or not have a lot to do with what's going on there. And then Michigan is, they said they're 2 years out on another large section, is all they enumerated. The primary one that I wanted to share with you is South Carolina. The Horry County people they basically got tired of waiting, but they have revitalized themselves, and they are pressing the South Carolina legislature for a 1-cent gas tax for this and to obligate $200 million a year. They have allocated $180 million for right-of-way acquisition. They have outlined the entire route, and the South Carolina equivalent of DEQ, they've got all their land permits in order to do this, and that is a phenomenal achievement right there. But it is South Carolina that tend to do what they want to do. So it's just, I know what they're waiting on is be the last piece, and the feds will fund it, because if South Carolina only has 6,000 miles of state road compared to North Carolina's hundreds of thousands. But that's just an update on that. There are people working on it, and we'll continue to press forward, as we can to get South Carolina more involved.
And as Mr. Moffitt mentioned, Mayor, just remind with the advent of coming of Toyota, VinFast in Chatham County, and Toyota here in Randolph County, VinFast in Chatham County, that links us to the auto industry in Ohio and Michigan.
There was much talk about the battery, not of this scope.
Yes.
But electric facilities and battery facilities that are
right
infilling in Michigan.
That is important. So that'll be a long-term driver for our economy, and so will tourism. When you think of, just remind that you may not know South Carolina's #1 economy is agriculture, #2 is tourism. So what's helped South Carolina move along was the COVID outbreak, which destroyed the tourism industry.
I got them interested again.
It's a tough act to follow. Thankful for our veterans, and I'm also very thankful that the citizens have given me another opportunity to serve for a term again. So thankful for that.
And I'll just say it has been my pleasure to serve with all of you. And I will miss spending some of Thursday nights with you. Some have been better. And I guess I can't thank the voters. I will thank the ones who turned out and the ones who voted. It's been a pleasure. And not only to work with all of you, but also to work with all of the staff, from the manager down line. It is a quality organization. And as I step into just being a citizen, I am very confident that with all of y'all and all of the staff, what we're looking at, the issues that we're facing, I'm in good hands as a citizen, and I appreciate all of the service that y'all have done, and will continue to do. And I'm gonna have 2 things as suggestions, since I'm on my way out. I would really love it if we could figure out a way to comply legally without all of this every meeting that's wasted. The other thing is, you'll all be welcome when I burn all of my campaign signs and release those toxins into the air from my 7 campaigns. And also on behalf of, as I try to be an advocate for the voiceless and those of us not heard, those of us who are quiet and maybe don't talk as much, in our heads, we're talking just fine. it might be that there's a little bit more conversation going on the other end. You know, what do they call it, contrast gainer? Maybe we're not too quiet. Maybe some people might be able to talk. Take that into consideration.
Talking about me?
No, I am pointing no fingers. I am talking no knives. I'm just saying it's not always a bad thing, Dan. All right, Bill?
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Well, we will call this meeting adjourned.
Trevor, I got a quick question.
I said.
Very beginning.